This is our preview of the all-new Mercedes C-Class. We'll tell you all you need to know about this new generation, W206 for the sedan and S206 for the estate. These are the model codes. So in this new generation, the C-Class will once again be presented as the sedan and the estate. There will be no convertible and no coupe. And of course, all you need to know on exterior, interior and the prospect of the driving experience. I can already tell you so far, exterior wise you see there are not so many changes, but interior wise really huge changes like a small S-Class. And also driving wise, interesting new technology. Oh yeah, and engine wise, especially AMG fans have to be very strong now. So let's start with all the information and later on even more impressions from different sceneries, everything about the new C-Class. Let's go! So the sedan you see here is in selenite grey magno in the AMG line. And we also have a wagon in spectral blue. This of course here the Thomas blue, so my favorite color. Really nice looking, definitely. In the front, first big news is there will be no attached star anymore, so no top classic luxury Mercedes star on top of the hood. Only the central star. The E-Class will still receive the top standing star in one of the versions, but here the C-Class, they just said we just want the very modern look with the central star. It will also be for the baseline, for the avant-garde and also of course for the AMG line. The AMG line is really strong once again in the front and now has this meshed grille, and if you look closely, this mesh structure is made out of tiny Mercedes stars. A lovely feature. So there's no diamond pin grille anymore than for the AMG line. You have this mesh structure and it looks actually quite cool, and also the front has this A shape in the front grille, a stronger A shape, so that the lower part is wider than the upper part. Base and avant-garde will not be that sharp as for this A shape, so it will look a little bit friendlier, and the baseline will have some vertical fins in the front grille, rather in black, and the avant-garde trim will have the same form, but then more with chrome accentuations and also a chrome frame around the grille. The multi-beam LED are standard now, so you have already from the standard trim level elaborated high beam function, and option you can get the so-called digital light with over 1 million pixels each, and this digital light then can even project things on the road, for example some aiding lines or something, but only the driver then is able to see that. And by the way, all trim levels receive these very strong power domes on the hood, so they are just, making a more masculine appearance. In the side profile, let's begin with the length. And this is now at 4.75 meters, 15'6" or 187 inches. That is 6.5 centimeters longer than before, or 2.5 inches. And also the wheelbase has grown about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. And the majority of that will be more rear legroom, soon more about that. Wheels come from 17 to 19 inch. And here in the pictures we show you, these are the big 19-inch wheels in the AMG styling. Technology-wise, big news, you now receive a rear axle steering. That has been very rare in this segment, first time in this mid-size segment. 2.5 degrees in the opposite direction do the rear wheels steer then for you, up to a speed of 60 kilometers an hour, that's 37 miles per hour. So this really improved the agility at lower speeds and also has then less turning circles, so 40 centimeters or 16 inches less is the turning circle then, or more narrow. And actually at higher speeds, so above 60 kilometers an hour, you will have a parallel steering for more stability at higher speeds. The rear tail lamps, for the first time in the C-Class, they are split and put in this very horizontal scheme. So far they were more vertical for the sedan and for the estate. And well, this look now, we can all agree, I think, that it looks sleeker and more elegant and also appears wider in the rear now. The new C-Class is, by the way, just a little bit wider in the dimension. However, if you now look at C-Class, CLA, E-Class and the S-Class, and you find them on the road, they basically all look the same. Yeah, this is this model strategy, for a uniform design look. But sometimes people also want to say, yeah, I'm driving this vehicle and I want to have a distinctive look. So tell me in the comments what you think about that. As for the suspension, you get a base suspension. Then you can go for a stiffer fixed sport suspension. Then you have an adaptive suspension available for more comfort. And last but not least, also air suspension at the rear axle available. This is, by the way, standard for the plug-in hybrid models because of the increased weight from the battery. This is then also a self-leveling suspension for the rear, especially, of course, important for the estate and for the plug-in hybrids if you have more load in the rear to even that out. On the interior, we can see a drastic change. This is really inspired from the all-new S-Class, so we can say the new C-Class from the inside is a small S-Class, but also a little bit from the outside, as we said earlier as well. And then everything digitalized, so you start with 10.25-inch instruments on the left, optional these 12.3-inch instruments, and on the right side you start with a 9.5-inch screen. This is not that vertical as the screen you can see here, so optional then this 11.9-inch huge vertical screen, and this is really new, inspired from the S-Class once again, and especially, they say at least, improves the GPS information and the GPS function and how you look at the GPS system. However, if you bear in mind that for these systems you always have to look more down inside the cabin, whereas the higher put up horizontal screens are more in the line of sight. So then again, you have to think about, okay, you can go for an optional head-up display. This might then be the solution not to be distracted by this huge screen. And of course the new MBUX software with the voice input and also new functionality in this new MBUX generation. The ambient lighting, Mercedes is always very famous for that, is appearing along some design lines, so a very central setup for the ambient lighting and also inside the air vents once again. The dashboard can also be bought with the Artico or MBTEX, this high-grade leatherette, for a real cool and clean look. It is standard, by the way, in the AMG line. Technology-wise, what's interesting here in the interior, you can get the over-the-air updates, so all new functionalities can be received also later on. Finally, they also introduce that. As for the trunk capacity, we are at 455 liters for the sedan and 490 liters for the estate, up to 1510 liters. And even more important, for the new plug-in hybrid models, you do not have this massive step again in the trunk. So this was removed. You are then at 360 liters up to 1375 liters. But the real difference you feel and see as a customer is the floor of the trunk is a little bit higher than in the non-PHEV versions, and you can easily live with that, so no functionality loss now with the plug-in hybrid models. And talking about the engines, there will be two plug-in hybrids, both petrol and diesel, C300E or C300DE, and they'll now have double the battery size, 25 kilowatt hours, and can be recharged with DC 55 kilowatt or AC 11 kilowatt, 140 kilometers an hour is the pure electric speed, that's 87 miles per hour, and double the battery size means also double the range, so 100 kilometers or 60 miles is the projected range. As for that, of course, then a very well usable electric range for a plug-in hybrid. And they also promise a strong recuperation, even a one-pedal driving feeling with a plug-in hybrid. That is indeed very rare. Other than that, you'll have both petrol and diesel engines. So far announced, C180, a 1.5 liter engine with 170 horsepower, or in a 204 horsepower spec in the C200. That also available with all-wheel drive. And then there's a C300, 2 liter, 4-cylinder, 258 horsepower, also optional with all-wheel drive. And on diesel side, C220D, 2 liter, 4-cylinder, 200 horsepower, optional all-wheel drive, or the C300D, that with 265 horsepower, also optional all-wheel drive. There'll also be an entry-level C200D, of course. Well, and all of these engines, mild hybrid system and automatic gearbox. Special is that they even put the mild hybrids in the diesels. That is also very rare on the market. So a full electrification of the model portfolio. And now AMG fans have to be very, very strong, because we already know that the new AMG models will not get 6-cylinder engines, 4 cylinders all the way for the Mercedes C-Class. Yeah, you can really argue with that. Power-wise, there won't be any compromise. As for the acceleration, it will still be very quick. We know that from the A-Class, for example, with the AMG models. And if you think about the agility, with 4 cylinders, you have less weight, and you probably even have more agility as for cornering. But still, if you want a C-Class AMG, most will probably still like a 6-cylinder. Yeah, what about that? Tell me in the comments. As for safety and assistance systems, what's important right there? First of all, there's the new lane keeping assist that has been updated and also standard, and also a standard front middle airbag, so that driver and then also the front passenger, they are not hurting themselves or hurting each other in a case of a crash, because they are then also kind of separated and buffered by a middle airbag. That's of course a very important safety feature. So overall, with these newer mild hybrid systems, we hope to have some consumption advantages, and then especially with the optional rear axle steering, more agility at lower speeds, better turning circle in the city, and more stability at higher speeds. The rear axle steering will be the most crucial thing when driving the all-new C-Class, so this is the main difference we will feel in driving it. And of course also looking forward to the suspension upgrades. Other than that, you've seen from the exterior not so many changes. On the interior, huge digitalization, better voice input and so on. Yeah, but we already see with less hard buttons, we also see a worse user interface coming. So more tech to see, more tech to use, but we've experienced it so many times that not always it is easier than to control the car, but rather harder. Also when you look at capacitive buttons on the steering wheel and so on, we'll see about that. Yeah, but all of that in person very soon here on our channel. Stay tuned, stay subscribed. See you soon, and leave us your feedback to the all-new Mercedes C-Class. See you soon.